There's a version of this story that starts with an ending already written. A middle power, an aging fleet, a room full of the world's most powerful defense salesmen, each one certain they'd already won before the meeting started. In that version, Columbia does the predictable thing. It picks the famous name. It picks the jet backed by a superpower, because that's what middle powers are supposed to do. Defer, comply, choose safety over sovereignty. But rewind 6 months and something else was happening quietly underneath the noise. A Nordic company nobody feared was closing every door its rivals thought was already shut. No press conferences, no threats, just paperwork, patience, and a plan that had been years in the making. Then for one terrifying week, that plan nearly collapsed. A rumor, an engine, a superpower's leverage, hanging over a deal that had taken years to build. If it was true Columbia would own jets it could never fly. If it was true the underdog's entire strategy, quiet, patient, methodical, would be exposed as naive. It wasn't true. And the way it wasn't true is the story. This is the moment a small country's calculated patience lasted a giant's assumption of certainty. This is how the underdog closed the door for good. There's a version of this story Wall Street already believes. A small Nordic company, a jet nobody feared, a market ruled by giants with 3 names everyone already knows: F-16, F-35, Rafale. In that version, Columbia does what everyone expects. It buys American. It buys the safe choice, the predictable choice. That is not what happened. In April 2025, Columbia looked at the world's most powerful defense salesman and chose the quiet one. This is the story of how a Swedish jet, dismissed for decades as the underdog, outmaneuvered the biggest names in aviation. Not with more money, not with more power, with patience. Sweden is not known for fighter jets. It's known for safe cars, quiet diplomacy, engineering that doesn't shout. So when Saab entered the room with the Gripen, nobody treated it as a threat. It was smaller, less flashy. It didn't carry the political weight of a superpower behind it. Every time Saab tried to sell it, they weren't just pitching a jet. They were fighting decades of assumption. The assumption that bigger budgets mean better outcomes, that prestige wins wars, that the loudest option in the room is always the strongest. For years, that assumption held. The Gripen found buyers, South Africa, Thailand, Brazil, but the big contracts, the ones that reshape a region, stayed out of reach. Then came Columbia. Columbia's aging Kafir fleet needed replacing. That much was certain. What wasn't certain was who would replace them. For years, it looked like a 2-horse race. The F-16 against the Rafale. Familiar names, familiar backers, familiar playbook. Negotiations stalled, budgets tightened. The process dragged on, the way these processes always do when the only variable anyone's measuring is raw power. But Columbia wasn't just measuring power. It was measuring cost, terrain, readiness. Whether the jet it bought today would still make sense in 30 years. That's where the story turns. Selling the Gripen against the F-16, the F-35, the Rafale, the Eurofighter was never a fair fight on paper. Those jets came backed by superpowers, by massive budgets, by the kind of political alliances that make purchases feel less like procurement and more like membership. Buying them meant buying into something larger. Lucrative side deals, strategic dependencies, the unspoken obligations that come with choosing a patron instead of a product. The Gripen didn't have that leverage, so it built a different kind. Saab's pitch was simple, and it was strategic patience distilled into a sentence. You don't need the most expensive jet to build the most effective air force. You need the smartest one. Low operational costs, easy maintenance, advanced systems that punch above the jet's price tag. In a market obsessed with size and spectacle, that argument was a hard sell. It required buyers to think in decades, not headlines. Then, just as the deal gained real traction, the crisis arrived, the one from the opening. A rumor, but not a harmless one. It spread that the US might block the sale entirely because the Gripen depends on an American-made engine. The fear was specific, and it was devastating. Columbia could sign the contract, take delivery of the jets, and still never receive the engines to fly them. A nightmare scenario for both Saab and Columbia. With the American F-16 competing for the exact same contract, the timing looked less like coincidence and more like coercive pressure. The kind of unpredictable maneuvering designed to make smaller players panic and retreat toward the safety of a bigger name. Saab didn't panic, and it didn't retreat. It responded immediately, confirming it already held every necessary U.S. export license. The engine problem wasn't a problem. It had never been one. It was a rumor, and Saab had done the groundwork years in advance, precisely so that a rumor like this couldn't be weaponized against them at the moment it mattered most. That single act of crisis management did more than kill a story. It answered the only question a buyer like Columbia actually needed answered. Can this partner be trusted when the pressure is real, when a superpower's shadow falls across the table? The Gripen's reputation didn't just survive the scare, it hardened inside it. Because underneath the diplomacy, underneath the rumors and the politics, the Gripen's real argument was never political at all. It was architecture. Its AESA radar gives pilots a level of situational awareness that has nothing to do with brute force. Its electronic warfare system functions almost like a digital shield, detecting threats and deploying countermeasures without waiting on the pilot to react. Multiple Gripens share data in real time, operating less like individual aircraft and more like a coordinated pack moving as one. And on the ground, the advantage compounds. A small crew can refuel and rearm a Gripen in just 10 minutes. Its single fuel-efficient engine keeps operating costs low. It can fly from short runways, damaged runways, even a stretch of ordinary highway. Fewer jets grounded for maintenance means more jets in the sky, more hours of readiness for less money spent. That is the layered case Columbia was actually evaluating, underneath the noise of superpower rivalry. Not which jet looked most powerful in a brochure, but which one would still be affordable, capable, and combat-ready 3 decades from now. In April 2025, Columbia made its choice, and the reasoning came down to 3 words: cost, capability, cooperation. The Gripen offered the lowest purchase price and even lower operating costs. Savings measured in the billions of dollars over 30 years, freeing resources for training and readiness instead of endless maintenance bills. Its versatility matched Columbia's demanding geography, multi-role and reliable, able to operate where other jets simply couldn't. And Saab didn't just sell hardware, it offered industrial partnership, including a solar panel plant, a direct investment in Colombia's own economy, proof that this was never meant to be a transaction, but a relationship. With Brazil already flying Gripens, Colombia wasn't just buying a jet, it was joining a regional network built for shared training, shared logistics, shared upgrades for decades to come. That is the masterstroke hiding inside this deal. Colombia didn't purchase the cheapest option sitting in a vacuum. It purchased the most defensible long-term architecture available anywhere in the world. Military strength, economic return, and strategic alignment bundled into a single calculated decision. The ripple effects are already spreading outward. Saab now has something it never had before. Validation that the Gripen can beat the world's best, not in a simulation, not on paper, but in a live competitive process against superpowers with unlimited budgets. With Brazil and Colombia both now flying Gripens, South America has the beginning of a genuine regional standard. A block for training and support that makes both air forces stronger together than either could ever be alone. Other nations, watching quietly from the sidelines, are absorbing the real lesson buried inside this story. You don't need the most expensive jet to field the most capable air force. You need the smartest one. The Gripen's rise is not a story about a lucky underdog stumbling into a win. It's a story about what happens when quiet transformation is mistaken for weakness, again and again, until the day it no longer can be. Sweden didn't outspend the giants of the defense industry. It outthought them, patiently, methodically, for years, absorbing every rejection, surviving every rumor, until the moment a middle power halfway across the world decided that resilience and efficiency were worth more than a famous name and a familiar flag. The underdog didn't just win a contract, it rewrote the terms of the competition itself. What do you think about all this? Tell us in the comments below. See you in the next one.